Hello. Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here on the wrong lead. Another episode of Drank and Champagne. Joined, of course, I'm Drank, so joined by Champagne, Mr. Andrew Champagne. This is probably the longest I think I've ever let this thing go.
Yeah, I know. It's a good jam. It's a good tune.
Oh, wait till the saxophone comes in.
Oh, there's a saxophone?
Oh, listen,
Is it the guy that, just bops around like the Squirtle meme?
Yeah. This is for Chase. I know Chase is a big fan of the jazzy stuff. I think I've told this story before. I'll play the video. Oh, actually, I don't have the video queued up on our drink and champagne stuff, but the little ditty that we normally start our live streams with, the original, just kind of on the wrong lead theme. It still is a theme. It's just I'd like to separate out the different shows we do with different stuff. I told Chase I was kind of just like working on something, just trying to figure something out, and I was like, dude, I'm trying to think of something. He's like, give me a little green onions. So I was like, all right. And so that was kind of the inspiration for where we came up with the theme song. So shout out.
Yeah, Chase, one of the all-time good guys. Josh, I saw him the other night drinking a pina colada at Trader Vic's, and his hair was perfect.
Mm-hmm. What is that from?
Werewolves of London by Warren Zevon. Werewolves of London, Wolf of Oaklawn, Ow. Yeah. And that's not even the best one I've got loaded up for you here in the chamber. So first of all, if this is your first time at Drank and Champagne, welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in on whatever your podcast provider of choice is, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, wherever the case may be. We're very happy that you're here. If you're on YouTube, go down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really helps us out. And I am so sorry for what I am about to do to Josh, because I heard one of the greatest all-time dad jokes in the history of dad jokes. Josh, I've got a friend named Joe. Joe had a New Year's resolution. New Year's resolution was to lose weight. So he was looking up diets and he found the Dolly Parton diet. It worked. Do you know how I know it worked?
How?
It made Jolene, 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 Jolene. Thank you. And it would appear as though I am doing the rest of this podcast by myself because Josh has walked off of his set and I can see all the clutter that's in behind him. Josh, my goodness, how does your wife not make you clean that mess up?
So do you want to hear the story of the situation behind us? So
it is a situation. Mike Sorrentino would be proud of it.
So two things. One, I'm really glad you told that bad joke so I could walk off, because I left my my water bottle like off to the side.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I was waiting for you to show the new picture that you haven't hung up yet.
I showed it already. I showed it a couple of weeks ago, but I'll show it again since you brought it up. So I'll show it again. Here you go. Lord Miles, Wood Memorial, 59-1, $120.30. It's going to go right up back here, but I haven't hung it just because I'm lazy. But hopefully that'll be something I do sooner rather than later, because that's the reason I got it. It's a little uneven right now.
So a couple of weeks ago, actually months ago now, I have a couple of friends at work who are very into board games. And if you can see behind my left shoulder, there is a bookcase back there, and that's just filled with board games. So I like board games. I got some buddies we used to have a group with, and then COVID hit, and we just stopped getting together. Obviously, so with obviously that kind of in our rearview mirror, we were like, we should really do it, and get back together. And so a couple of my buddies that from my old group, friends I play volleyball with, friends from grade school, like 2-3 of us there. And then I got 2-3 friends from work. And so we started doing game night again. And because I was kind of the linchpin for this, right? Because I was the one who knew everybody, and the only person everybody knew was me. I was like, all right, well, we can have it at my place. And we live in a condo, very small, about 900 square feet, 2 floors. And if you've lived in a small space, sometimes you got to get creative with storage solutions. And our kitchen table oftentimes acts as half of a pantry because we just don't have a pantry. So hey, sometimes like bags of chips and stuff like that gets put on our kitchen table. And uh, so what happens is we're hosting, and we're like, we got to get this stuff, like, we need the table to play games. So we started just putting stuff like into bags and stuff, and we're like, where are we gonna put this? And so we're like, I guess we'll put it in the spare room. So I got like grocery bags behind me with like food, with like chips and stuff like that. I got a laundry basket back here that is like dry cleaning that I haven't had to take in because I don't wear dress clothes really anymore. Because even at work, I just wear a polo. And then we have our wrapping paper stash that's over behind my left. So you can see and it's really funny because the only thing that I mean, obviously it looks messy and it's blurred out, but for some reason the tissue paper doesn't like to be blurred. So like you can always over my shoulder kind of clearly see the tissue paper. I've tried to I'm gonna try to work on either getting a screen or something, or actually clean. We gotta do some other adjusting in the house in order to get stuff moved around. So
I would venture a guess that we are the only horse racing podcast that doubles as an episode of MTV's Cribs.
I'm I guess maybe I don't know.
Hey, we got to
Uh,
find a space, man. There's a whole bunch of noise out there. We need to be the signal.
um, yeah. So we got a fun show. We're gonna do something that we do for most big days. Obviously, if you are listening to this Thursday morning, we are doing a live stream Thursday night. Myself and Mark. Caleb is on his way to Japan right
Wow.
now. Yeah, so he is. I don't know when his flight is, but I know he leaves Thursday. So he is going to be en route to Japan. And so I do have not quite as good looking, but still a handsome fellow, Mr. Matthew DeSantis, joining us to do.
Will he be wearing his trademark chapeau, or
I
is he
have no
going?
idea.
Yeah, because I got to tell you that adds a little bit to the. He doesn't quite get to Caleb, but it gets to like the store bought brand version of Caleb, like the we have this at home version.
Yeah, Matt, Matt is a very good friend of mine. When I went up to Saratoga with Caleb, he came out and met us for a drink, or a couple of drinks actually. We were at this fantastic bar. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was just kind of this like divey little bar next to on the same street as one of my favorite restaurants in Saratoga, which is the Local. And So we had dinner at the Local, and then we went over to this like little divey bar. I forgot the name of it. And you know, we sat there and we were just having a couple drinks, just sharing stories and stuff. And but he showed up wearing a t-shirt, jeans, and no hat. And I've seen pictures of Matthew wearing that, but every time I've seen him, he's been dressed up at the track. So just seeing him so casual was a bit of a shock to the system. But and I see Andrew, you're looking very intently because now you're trying to figure out the name of the bar that we went
Yes,
to.
yes, I am, because this is going to really bother me. You said it was near the Local.
It's on the same street as the Local.
Okay,
It's
so it'd be either Grand or Beekman. If it's Grand, it might be the West Side
mm,
Sports Bar.
maybe.
Okay, that's a possibility. This is going to really bother me, and it's going to hit me probably at about 4:30 tomorrow morning when I wake up and go, "Oh, that's the place." So
Yeah.
tune in next week as we take a look around Saratoga Springs. 5 months before the Belmont at Saratoga. I refuse to call it Bellatoga. I can't do it. I know there are some people out there that are trying to make it a thing. Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen. But we're talking about Saratoga having big cards. There's a big card coming up on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. 13 races, head